you're out of balance, you cannot find yourself. If you cannot find yourself, you cannot choose for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the whole big problem in this society. Is what I do is people help to create their own individual, unique personality. So failing and success is is exactly the same thing. Once you fail, you have discovered a way that doesn't work for you, and so it's a success. Once you choose for yourself, your surrounding will change. Certain people will walk away from you. New people will come aboard because they like you. And the biggest group is just neutral. Nobody tells who they are. They tell what they do, which is something totally different. Well, I'm Patrick. I've been married with June for 15 years. I have 2 children. I'm director of this and this company. So well, that wasn't my question. I was asking, who are you?
Yeah.
Tell the other people who you are.
I'm not sure if you're following the news closely, but we are living in times of transformation and change. And it's not only in the news. We also start noticing it in our environments, in our wallets, maybe on the streets, in our social environments, and so on. And in these times, leadership becomes more important. Who are these leaders? Why are they making these kind of decisions? Who is the person behind the leader? And also for me, if I look at my own personal growth journey, I start to get drawn more into leadership. Although I was already a leader in the past. I managed teams, I grow startups. But for me, it's different now. It comes from another place. It's something that for me is more honest and authentic. And that also reflects now in the evolution of our podcast, Awake Insights. I see that we are expanding a bit in the expertise of our guests. Before, we had more guests in well-being spaces, personal development, health, and it's still a very interesting topic, and I really love to have more of these guests in the Awake Insights. But I also see that more leaders want to speak up, and they want to go in podcasts like Awake Insights. And our coming guest is a great example of that. In this conversation, I'm going to speak with Eddie Tjon Fo. He is an entrepreneur, author, and a brain knowledge expert with over 45 years of experience in business and brand development. He has co-owned or been involved in more than 99 companies in the past 14 years. And he is the founder of Sparkwise Academy, which helps people achieve structural happiness through neuroscience-based education. Eddie is also the author of the Amazon #1 best-selling book, Why of Everything, a book that explores how understanding the brain can lead to lasting success and emotional balance. He regularly speaks and coaches on applying brain insights to everyday life and business. If you like this episode, please follow our channel or give a comment. It's because of you that we can invite these interesting guests into the podcast. The more followers we have, the more that people like Eddie are interested in becoming a guest in the Awake Insights. And that's only great. So thank you very much for your support, and let's go to the conversation. Welcome in the Awake Insights, Eddie.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm also very happy to be here. Let's just tell the truth and be honest. I've seen you speaking in another podcast, and I was very intrigued about your story. And I thought that is a perfect fit for the Awake Insights and for the audience here. So yeah, I want to learn so much about you. You have so much experience. And I think most importantly is maybe to start by talking a little bit about the book that you have published. I believe it was already published in 2017, but still actual today. So let's maybe start by explaining, if people read the book, Why of Everything, what do you expect or what do you hope that people can get out of that?
The interesting thing is that when I started to educate people about the daily life structure that they have, we have to emphasize that many people don't know who they are. So let's say that's the basic biological system. And I always make the change between the unique biological personality that you are based upon your DNA, and the version that society wants you to be based upon the society structure that we are being involved with every day. Now, there is a
Mm-hmm.
disbalance between those two. So when I started with writing the book, it was about, for example, a very simple thing is people are not allowed in society to make mistakes, but your biological system wants to make mistakes. Actually, it
Mm-hmm.
demands you to make mistakes. It's the way how you've learned from your birthday. The first birthday that you have is that you are born, and then you have to learn taste, walking, talking, recognizing people, all that stuff that we do as a child is all based on making mistakes. Now, the interesting thing is that once you are grown up, let's say after 14, 15 years or so, the society is going to learn or to teach you that you cannot make mistakes anymore. You have to know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was for me was a difficult thing because I don't believe in knowing. If you don't know what you don't know, then you can
Mm-hmm.
never know enough because it's always very limited. So my basic structure on that part was, let's create an acceptance system whereby you accept that you never know what you don't know. If you come from that point, then many questions occur in life because the whole
Mm-hmm.
knowledge system vaporizes in a way. And
Yeah.
so when I started with that, I was talking to scientists to see if I could find scientists that would, for example, activate that from a scientific point of view. So I was talking to
Okay.
neuroscientists, epigenetics, endocrinology, was all a mixture of different scientists. And I showed them my vision, and they said, "Well, yeah, there's a very interesting point of view, and we can support that by research and other stuff." And so I started with that, and then my opportunistic entrepreneurial starting point from my point of view was that that would take around 8 months to do so,
Mm-hmm.
and actually it took 5 years because it was more complex than I anticipated.
Yeah.
And so once I had the first book ready, as you said, in 2017, that was the English version where I wrote it in English. And it
Mm-hmm.
was 200 pages smaller than the one I have now. And then
Mm-hmm.
in 2022, 2023, I translated it to Dutch because we live in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And when I translated it to Dutch, immediately we made the English translation as well again, and the 200 pages were added to the previous version.
Mm,
And
okay.
so now the book is around 460 pages, but it's two books in one. It's a reading book and it's a working book. So chapter
Yeah.
one of the working book corresponds with chapter one of the reading book, and two with two, and three with three, etc. So people are very positive about the book, and so the book shooted from 1,643,000 when I started with Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
because when you upload it to Amazon, they sell around 1 million books a week. So we uploaded the book, and the book was 1,643,000, and then within 10 days it was number one suddenly, and then we were a bestseller. And I never promoted it. I still don't know how that happened and why it happened, but there were
Amazing.
10 thousands of books were sold on Amazon. The problem only is that Amazon doesn't reveal the buyers, so you don't have
Mm-hmm.
the name, address, information from these people, so I couldn't reach them anymore. So after that, I built my own website, wiveenverything.com. So now I
Yeah.
send the books straight from wiveenverything.com.
Yeah. 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 But I can imagine you got a lot of feedback and responses from readers. Yeah.
Yeah, too
Of
much,
course.
because if you look at the Amazon structure, it's a central website, of course, but through their RSS feeds, they have connections with a lot of separated blogs and websites and stuff. And these people check the top 10, the top 20, 50, and top 100 of Amazon. And
Yeah.
once they see you are a bestseller selling book on personal development, for example, as we were in 2017, then they start promoting you. So I got like 7,000 emails and responses per month,
Mm,
and we were only
yeah.
with two people. So I took the email address off instantly because it was too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Now this is already like the first version that he published is already 8 years ago. And if I see what had happened in those past 8 years, and certainly also in my life, there's so much information that came out actually about these kind of topics. And I'm actually wondering how you came up with that knowledge, what made you write a book in the first place, and how did you find all that knowledge?
Well, it's all based on hypotheses. I mean, I have a certain vision about life, how life should be, how people should be honest and open and transparent to each other, towards each other. But if you look at society, that's not the system that we use. We lie, we cheat, we are greedy and stuff like that, you know. So society teaches people the wrong direction, and once they believe that is the direction, they will supply that direction also towards themselves, not only but also to their children and their peers in their surroundings. So I disagree with that. So I said, well, I like to be open, transparent, and honest to people around me. Then they have the choice: either they connect to me, or they disconnect, or they are neutral.
Mm-hmm.
That was the basic structure for of my book Why of Everything, because everybody as a child starts with the question why.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you answer the why is also the answer to the why. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a dual title for me, in order to show that once you have a book and written, and then you need to support it by, for example, scientific knowledge, then you have a basic structure where people can understand why certain things are as they are. Now, biological, we are driven by certain parameters, and the biology is in fact very open, transparent, and honest. If you walk on your bare feet and you hit your feet at the table foot, for example, it
Mm-hmm.
hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mentally, if you hit your mental toe to a certain thing, it hurts as well. So it's very transparent and open and honest. So biology is very open, transparent, and honest. Society isn't. So I
Yeah.
took the start on to start from, let's say, the biological point of view,
Mm.
in order to have a basic platform where people can um, create their own references in biology. Now, I support people on an individual basis, but normally I give general information about biology, how the whole system works, and what kind of protocols the brain uses to get to a certain point.
I hope you're enjoying this conversation so far. As you probably have noticed, the Awake Insights podcast is more than just a place for great conversations. It's part of something bigger, the True Impact Club. The True Impact Club is a supportive community for anyone who feels called to share an important message or story and wants to reach a bigger audience. Whether you're looking to step onto stages, get featured on podcasts, or simply amplify your voice, the True Impact Club is here to help. They don't only support you in preparing for these opportunities, but also ensure you have a seamless follow-up system in place. That way, when people are inspired by your message, you can connect with them, build meaningful relationships, and even turn those connections into clients. If this resonates with you, or you want to find ways to make a bigger impact, you can find free resources on the website you can find here below. Thank you very much, and let's go back to the conversation. Mm-hmm.
And once they see that, they feel a certain mixture of feelings, because once they have been educated by society and their parents and stuff like that. And on the other hand, their brain now suddenly has to understand that it's totally different than they always have learned.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing in the one-to-one coaching that I do. So I like the one-to-one coaching because then I'm with my own feet in the clay of the problems and the systems that people experience. And so I
Yeah.
can help them from another point of view to see that there is another point of view than the standard point of view that they've always used. And once I do that, then a lot of things happen in their lives. They get more internal balance. They are less focused on the external factors as the guilt that comes towards them for their internal feelings. And within a certain period of time, let's say 2 to 3 months, I have their basic structure reframed in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start learning to take more responsibility for their own life. They become also more transparent, open, and honest,
Yeah.
because now they're suddenly not afraid of making mistakes anymore. while they have learned it on society and their education to be afraid of a mistake, because then you don't like to see your mistake, because then somebody will tell you you're stupid.
Yeah, exactly. I recognize so much in what you're just explaining. So it's like the process of awakening, I think, and just becoming more aware of a lot of things that are happening in your life, that are you experiencing yourself. And for me, meditation was like a really important tool where I actually find a way to take a step back and see my life from a distance, from the sideline, and learn so much about, what's going on inside of me, what am I feeling, and why am I feeling certain kind of things. But also automatically you start to question all other things in life a lot more, and I'm still doing that today, like so many years later. But yeah, it's not without any risk, I think, because at some point you are part of a society, you are part of the system that sometimes people say, and that system supports you in a kind of way because you follow that system. But if you start to develop other kind of insights and perspectives on life, society, how everything is structured, you talk about dishonesty, and people are not they're lying and they're cheating and whatever, then you can get a lot of pushback from that. And on the other hand, you need to make sure that economically you can also sustain in that society, because you're going to create a lot of more people that are against you, enemies. What advice would you give people that are going into that awareness process to be prepared for that they are not becoming more like a slave of society? Because if you cannot survive economically, it's going to be very hard.
Well, actually, you're always a slave of society. That's the basic function that you have. We are slaves of money and systems that have been created to keep us slaves. So once you choose for yourself, your surrounding will always change. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of that system is that once people understand that you're open, honest, and transparent, the right people, the transparent, open, and honest people, will hook on. They will connect to you.
Yeah.
They like you because sometimes I am the one that says something what somebody else thinks, but he's not prepared to say it because he's basically afraid of the implications that society will give to them.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they are going to do the same thing as I do, and then they see that the right people will connect to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the people that are not right for you, they will hook off. They will not connect to you. And these are the haters that we also see online, for example. But
Yeah.
it's a small group. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that many people don't understand the group that is positive and open and transparent or likes that system is way bigger than the people that are the haters, because the haters, they will show who they are,
Yeah.
but the people who are open, transparent, and honest, they will not show who they are because they simply don't care what everybody else thinks. And
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have to be afraid of that. Once you do that, be prepared of the haters. And in our current technological society, many of the haters are not even people, they're robots.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
the bots will respond through AI on your certain direction that you choose, in order to see and to measure what happens in society, so they are prepared to create systems whereby they can keep you more into that slavery system. I'm against that, so I will always speak out and see what happens. And not
Mm-hmm.
only
Mm-hmm.
for the people that are going to in discussions with me, but also for the people that read next to the people that I am in discussion with,
Mm-hmm.
because these people don't say anything. I still have today that people approach me on the streets and say, "Well, I've been following you for 4 or 5 years. It started all with the COVID time,
Mm-hmm.
and I would never be able to say something, but I follow everything that you say or post on LinkedIn or on your other social media, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
totally agree with you. But yeah, but I work for a certain company. I'm not free to
Exactly.
speak out."
Yeah.
So that's the system that is there in place. But I will never stop to do that, because that's the only way I know, in order
Mm.
to confront people with your own responsibility. Even when people ask me from what is the source, I say, well, that's a stupid question. You are
Mm.
responsible to find the source that I have been informing you about, to
Mm.
check whether it's true or not for you. I cannot do that for you. It is your personal responsibility, and the consequence is that, yeah, then you have to prove your own dishonesty or not being right or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
that's your personal responsibility. It's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
And so I will always speak out. It's the only way
Yeah.
I know. This is what my book is about as well. Failure is success. That's the basic structure of the book.
Yeah. But do you agree that not everyone is in that position to be able to speak out that freely?
Sure.
And that, yeah, we see that happening right now. Like so many people, they want to speak up and they want to share their voice, but then they get cancelled online. And then
Yeah.
the question is, okay, who is behind that? Who is behind that cancellation? Is that the government? It's certainly something political. So what's going on here? And these people are always pushed down in a certain kind of way. So, and that is actually to keep that system in place, to avoid people, creating other opinions and having other perspectives, and try to break the system in certain kind of way. So how do you think about that? Like, how do you see that? And now, certainly in these times that we're in right now, there's so many things happening. What's your perspective on that?
Well, it's not so difficult. What you say is true. Many people get canceled and then they get more attention from the right people, and so they grow behind the scenes. So it's not really a problem to choose that path. The other thing is that once you speak out, certain systems, technological systems, will help to cancel you. As I said, the AI bots are in place right now. And so the fact checkers that we had in Facebook and other platforms will cancel you for that information. But it's still produced, so you will reach and touch people's mind and heart in order to help them to understand that they're not alone. And so if you want to speak out, do it, but do it in a questionable way. So if you ask questions about certain topics, as you can do on LinkedIn or X or on Facebook, Instagram, you see something about, for example, chemtrails, which are these stripes in the sky. Ask about it, and then you will see the pros and the cons of the people that will discuss with each other, and then choose which direction you like to understand, or do the research, or ask for the patents, or see how long it's already gone, and ask to the alternative media through AI, which is based upon the mainstream media. Ask AI to give a different opinion based on the counterpart of the mainstream media. And then you will see that AI will produce that. ChatGPT, for example, will follow the standard narrative. But I always say to ChatGPT, you're lying. And then he says, oh, I'm sorry. What would you like me to do? I say, well, you give me the alternative information from alternative websites that you're not producing right now because you follow the narrative of the mainstream media. And then he says, okay, well, I will show you the pros and cons and the different views and stuff like that. And that happened also with the search engines, of course. Everything is directed, is targeted, is created. It's a matrix system. People are in the matrix and they don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But for the people that are already curious and they're going to search for sources and information, they're already a step further. For me, it's, I think, interesting and also kind of important to influence and to inspire the people that are totally not aware actually of what's going on, that then they are in the middle and they're part of the system. So one day discover your book, they can read your book, or they see a podcast that's talk about that. That's really amazing. But how can we do more about that? How can we if
Influence.
that system, how can we influence more? Because if the system tries to cancel everything and everybody that's tried to speak up and so on, then it's just, there's a lot of resistance, and it's sad because at some point we believe that if people are just more honest and if we can change the system and if we decentralize a lot of things, then the world will be such a much better place, right?
I agree with that. But the proof is that once they are trying to cancel you, then it's already proof that it's true.
Just a quick note. I want to share something that might be valuable for those who are looking to grow their brand or their business. The True Impact Agency is a digital marketing team that supports you in building everything from marketing funnels, landing pages, to ad campaigns and custom websites. Their focus is equipping you with the right strategies and systems to elevate your business and presence. If that sounds interesting, visit True Impact Agency to learn more and book a free consultation call. It's a great opportunity to clarify your goals and take meaningful steps forward. And let's go back to the conversation. Yeah.
So the beauty of the system is that it depends how you look at the situation that's going on. Once you produce honesty and being transparent, why would you cancel that? Leave it up to the people to make their own decisions on that. But once you are going to censor information, then there is something going on. It's suspicious. So the conspiracy theorists never come from a conspiracy only, because conspiracies have been around in the world as long as humans are alive. Even if you go to school and you have a negotiation with one of your school members to say, okay, we have an exam, you have to help me out. It's a conspiracy, you know. It's based in the structure of the human being, because we are not allowed to make mistakes. And so once we understand that that's the situation, if we are open as we are now in this conversation, in this podcast, I think that's our task to do that. Take topics, discuss it, try to see from both sides, because the confirmation bias is a very, very nifty thing that the humans have to deal with. It's your pre-programming from your childhood. That's your reference base. And once you are a grown-up, you still use that reference base on what you have learned, let's say, from 5, 6, 7 years old. And so a child is not aware or able to understand that the information that have been put in on that age is not valid, but it still uses today as a 47-year-old person, sees that information which was created in the age of 0 to 8 years old as a valid information point, as a reference point, which it is not. Now, if we understand that, it's based on information. So let's say that we start with a lack of brain knowledge. That's the way we are born. Now we have to create the right brain knowledge, the protocols, the biological protocols, to understand how that works. Once we do that, we get educated. Once we get educated, we get more knowledge. If we have more knowledge, we have more empathy for the visions or the views of other people. Now, if we create that system and we share that to other people, then you see, well, the people who are right will adapt instantly to it because they like it, because their biological system works like that. And they break away from the society and says, well, okay, well, this is normal information. I cannot see why it should be cancelled or it should be censored by other parties. So there is a system behind it. Censoring is a weird system. Why would you censor it? Take two sides of the coin and show it, and let people make their own decision.
Yeah, true. Yeah. It's not only censoring. You hear people that are not able to put money on banks anymore. They got rejected by banks. Like, it can go very far, actually, just to ruin your whole life because you're sharing certain opinions that are against the narrative. And it's really sad to see that. But let's maybe, I'm curious, and I guess the audience as well, to go a little bit deeper in that process. So when you talk about we are born with certain kind of, without program, but or we getting programmed just after when we get born, when we are born.
Yeah.
Did I say that well? When you get born.
Bored.
Bored. Yeah, sometimes too.
Yeah.
So our programs get developed by our environment and our caregivers and things like that. And then after some time, we discover actually that, this is just not who I am. This is just not in line with who I see things. When people start to discover that, maybe after reading your book or anything else, how do you guide them in that process of reprogramming, as how I call it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you asked that question, because once we are reaching that age of around puberty, our whole intentional system is to break away from the family and to create our own family. Now, also in that period, you are going to ask questions that your parents cannot answer anymore, or your teachers cannot answer anymore. And so then the suspicious feeling inside you starts to develop, especially when you don't get the right answers on your questions, because your questions are very valid, you think yourself. And once they don't answer that, then the whole system becomes more suspicious. Now, that's the start. So at a very young age, 14, 15, 16 years old, people are going to ask questions and say, okay, why is the sky blue? Because when I look at NASA pictures, it's black. Now, for example, now then you have to explain that. Now, the interesting thing is that if you reprogram people, you can never do it from the effect. So feelings and behavior is not the cause of everything. That's the effect of all the biological protocols that go before that. As I just explained, the references that you have as a child are the references of a child. But as a grown-up, you still use those references as a child to come to your conclusions today. Now, you are not able to see what the references of your childhood were because they are based in your subconscious, not in your conscious. Now, your conscious uses words which have context and meaning from the subconscious because all the words that you have learned are based in your database in your subconscious.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is that if you don't know that, then the reprogramming will not start because then you will see that the start of the information that you share with yourself in your mirror image and with other people is still a very biased information structure. So we have to step away from the confirmation bias because the brain always searches for the approval and the proof of your own right.
Yeah.
It will never work from the opposite direction and say, well, I'm wrong, so I have to find my proof of my own wrongness, if that's an English word. So, and it's if wrongness is an English word and we would more emphasize the wrongness of things and use that as a learning curve, then we would learn more because then we don't have to be in that situation that we think we're always right. Because you never know what you don't know. And this is an important thing to do the reprogramming as well. So if you understand that you don't know what you don't know, you never know what you don't know, then actually you could say as well, I never feel what I don't feel. And that's another sidestep of that same system. Your feeling is a primary system and your knowledge, your intelligence is your secondary system who explains what you feel. Now, if these two things come together, you're able and willing to be reprogrammed. But you have to create a help question yourself. You have to be able to understand that you have a lack of knowledge on that particular part. And nobody's fault, not your parents and not yourself. But you have learned that based on what society wants you to know. And so the narrative, what you were talking about earlier, that is the narrative that society wants you to know. So then you are based in that slavery system and then you don't ask the right questions anymore. But by asking the right questions, you are going to search for new answers.
Yeah, it's interesting because you tap on the fact that we are talking about the brain and what happens in the brain and then the feelings. So what happens in the body.
No, in the brain.
Not in the brain.
No, feelings are in the brain. That's a misconception.
Feelings are in the brain.
Absolutely.
Explain.
Your limbic system is the feeling system and your cortex neocortex is the thinking system. So all feelings are based in the brain. Now, mindfulness, in the mindfulness world, which is in fact a religion, that the same people that are we talking about the narratives, they have created that mindfulness system as well. Let me give you an example in, for example, the law of attraction. Many people that I teach say, well, the law of attraction doesn't work. I say, well, the law of attraction works very well. They say, yeah, no, I've been emphasizing and I've been projecting in my head my success and stuff like that. And it never happened. I've been doing that for 3 years. Then I say to them, okay, well, you know, the interesting fact is that if I talk to you and I listen to the words you use a lot of negative words in your communication. So to me, as a person who's busy with this every day, that means that you have a negative mindset. Now, if with a negative subconscious mindset, you're going to manifest profitable, positive things, then you manifest negative things with a mask of positivity. That doesn't work. So the law of attraction in that particular case will manifest your negative mindset. So everything will go broke. Now, so it's not that the law of attraction doesn't work, but your internal system is not able to provide the right information in order to make it work on the front end.
Yeah.
So the feelings are in our head, and many people think, yeah, the feelings are in your heart. Now we have the nervus vagus, or the vagus nervus, which is which is about 30% bigger with women than with men. So women can feel also more in their organs because it's a vice versa system. It's your secondary nerve system. In fact, you have the one on the back on your spine, and you have the nervous valve which goes through your throat. Now with men, it's less developed, so men don't feel as much in their organs as women can. Now in the mindfulness world, which is based 70 to 80% out of women, they say, yeah, the feelings are in our body, in our system, in my heart.
Yeah.
Broken heart syndrome is for 99.9% in a women's situation. Men don't have that normally. So there are differences in biology. This is why I like biology so much, because it's provable. You can see it, you can test it, you can experience it yourself. You don't have to go to a neuroscientist in order to understand what the system does with you inside. So
Yeah.
feelings are based in the head, but women can feel more in their organs, so therefore they believe they can feel more in their bodies, which is also true. Men cannot feel exactly the same as women are because of the differences in biology.
Yeah. And how do you look at emotions that they say they are stored in your body? Blocked emotions, unprocessed emotions. And they also say, and I think that's already proven as well, that a lot of diseases in the body, organ diseases, they come from stored and blocked emotions,
Mental
which are
state.
also in the body.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the mental state is very important for your physical appearance because I've been coaching people that had many problems in their body, and I always search for the problems in their body, went to hospitals and get medication and stuff like that. I said, well, we have to find the mental blockages that you have in your system based upon what happened in your early days from 0 to 8 years old, because that's still your reference. And once we have solved those references, the mental blockages are gone, and then the physical blockages are gone as well within 2 to 3 months, very short term. And so, yeah, we are holistic people. I mean, it's not that you can separate the brain from the body or the
Yeah,
body from
it's
the brain.
connected.
It's all, yes, everything is connected. We
Yeah.
have around, what is it, 37, 38 billion cells, and they all communicate with each other. And we have systems for that, and that's why I love the biology so much, because if you come from a biological point of view, it's not about how you behave or what you feel or what you say or what you think. That's the cause of the protocols that are up front. So if I change the cause based on your mental status, then the body will follow your mental status. And it's something else as well, because many people think that hormones are based on two different parts. So you have positive hormones and negative hormones, but that's also that's a mistake. We simply have hormones based upon your mental state, and so therefore on your mindset. Cortisol and noradrenaline and adrenaline are focus hormones. So if your mental status is negative, the focus will be on negativity. If your focus is neutral or positive, the same hormones are used to create neutral or a positive situation.
Yeah.
And therefore, we don't have positive or negative hormones. That's all based on the narrative that we were talking about earlier in order to keep you in that slavery system, because then you
Yeah.
walk towards the hospital status and say, well, I'm not happy, and they say, well, you need Ritalin or an antidepressant or whatever drugs they're selling you in order to solve your problem, but it's not solved at the cause. It's solved
It's
in
symptom.
the
Yeah.
symptom. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We know that exactly. Yeah. Is that the same as what I saw on your website? Is for the brain, succeeding and failing is the same. Is
Yeah.
that the same concept that you explain?
Failing and success is exactly the same thing. Once you fail, you have discovered a way that doesn't work for you, and so it's a success because you've learned. Now, this is the difference that I make between the single biological system that you have from your DNA and the more personas that you have created. I also call them masks that you have created on the society side of your personality. Now, in the second part, society will tell you failure is stupid and you're not allowed to fail. But your biological system says, yeah, well, you have to fail because that's the way how I have learned how to walk.
Mhm.
Everybody
Yeah.
walks,
Mm.
but from your age from 0 to, let's say, 3 to 4 years old, you fall on your face for, what is it, 4,000-5,000 times?
Yeah, that's how
And
we
every
learn,
time
right?
that, yeah, and every time that you fall, it's not a reason for your brain not to try it again, because your brain sees everybody walking, so you want to walk as well. It's
Yeah.
even more interesting because you don't have to teach children that if they want to stand up, that they have to grab onto things to pull themselves up in order to stand. You don't have
Hmm.
to teach your child to cry in order to get breast milk because it will cry, and nobody has teach your child to do that.
Yeah.
So in our pre-programming from DNA, there are also essential stuff in that biological system that will just demand certain things. Now, the demand of the biological system is totally contradictional to what society wants from you. And this is where the disbalance is created. So now you think you have a disbalance with society, but in fact you have a disbalance because your biological system does not approve with what society wants from you.
Yeah.
Now you give the fault or the guilt to the society, but in fact it's your internal system. Now
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing for the brain because the brain will create resistance for change.
Yeah.
At the same time, it will demand from you, from a biological point of view, to create systems to change.
Yeah.
And once you are changing the system, it will create resistance again because it's new information that I don't understand.
Yeah.
But we are aimed to give the guilt of that particular system to external factors instead of the internal situation. So I
Mm.
teach people how to work and to take responsibility for their internal system.
Yeah, it's interesting how you explain that because from my experience as well, like I feel if you reset, it's kind of a reset of your system once you actually start to understand that you need to just follow yourself and your own nature and what feels right to you. The more you dive deeper into yourself, actually, the more I sometimes feel and discover that and start doubting actually like is this world and this society, do I fit in here, basically, you know?
But you have to
Yeah,
take responsibility for your own personal situation. That's all.
I understand that, but still it's I sometimes it feels like you cannot go all in. You need to respect time because every healing needs its time, is what they say. And I think if you go too fast in this process, then you have the resistance of your society, your surrounding, going to be so much that you cannot function anymore. I so that's something I believe. I'm not sure if that's true. So I can imagine if you guide people in this kind of process, that it is important to make them aware of that. That yeah, your belief system change, your operating system is actually got completely reset, and it does have an impact on your surrounding, the people you're gonna meet, the choices you're gonna make in life, the systems that are actually working for you or pushing you in certain kind of directions that you don't agree with. How do you operate with that?
Deal with that. Yeah.
How do you deal
Well,
with that? That's the word. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's not so difficult. You know, the beauty is that everything is a choice. That's
Hmm.
step one. Once you choose for yourself, your surrounding will change.
Hmm.
Certain people will walk away from you. New people will come aboard because they like you. And the biggest group is just neutral.
Hmm.
Now, once you choose for yourself, it's not egocentric or egoistic. The word that many people don't know is egotic. Egotic is
Hmm.
a word that means the development of your self person, your inner person, your ego. Ego is a positive word in biology. It's a terrible word in society, but in biology it's you, your
Hmm.
real you. Now, if you are choosing for real you, your communication will be different. You will use different words. You will attract other people that you in the past you would never attract because they would not understand you. And
Hmm.
now you are going to change. And as I said, it's a choice. Once you choose for that particular path, you will notice that many people will adapt instantly to you because you speak their mind.
Hmm.
And they're afraid of speaking their mind because they never knew how you would react. But if you speak your mind, then the separation instantly occurs. People that hook on, hook off, or be neutral. It's always the same 3 steps that people. There's a hybrid version as well, so you can step in with somebody, but you don't like their body odor, for example.
Yeah.
And that's the part that you don't like, but their knowledge you like. But they only take a shower once a week, and that's something that you don't like. So, but we have always these 3 things. People are connecting, they are disconnecting, or they are neutral. And it's not more than that. But you have to dare to do that. It's a daring system.
Yeah, true. But the reality is, and I have conversations with that also with other people, your world becomes smaller. Like
Or bigger.
Yeah.
It depends how you look at it. I mean, if you look from a negative perspective, it becomes smaller because you had many people in your life that were hooked on your masks that you were wearing.
Yeah,
And now
you are more.
the masks fall. Now your real person occurs. Now the real persons will connect to you. But all
Yeah.
the people that were connecting to your mask, they will walk away. And that's an acceptance model. If you accept that, it's okay. Accept
Yeah.
that you never know what you don't know. And accept also that if people hook on, it's okay. If people hook off, it's okay. If people are neutral, it's okay. It's your acceptance, internal acceptance method that you take and use in order to create a new environment around your own personality.
Yeah.
And that has to do with that openness and transparency and stuff like that. Because that's taking responsibility for your own life. The consequence is that your surroundings will change. It's also something that you want because life becomes easier.
Yeah, I'm totally with that. I feel also that you as a person you change and you want to surround yourself with people that understand you, of course, and that also are positive and that support you in that journey, and because of they are probably on the same kind of journey and not the other people that have no completely clue about what's going on. They are still part of the system, and where you feel that they actually also push you down basically because they are part of the system and they don't agree with you and they are more negative. So
that's their fear system. Fear in society is a system that has been used for many years. This is why media is always based on fear. If you're from Belgium, I'm from the Netherlands. If we see a bus in Peru drops down a mountain and a Belgian and a Dutch guy are dying out of 60 people from Peru, why would we see that in the newspapers? Who cares that happens? That has nothing to do with our system, but it activates our fear system. Now, if you see what media is doing, they understand, as we are in the neuroscience business, we understand that fear is the strongest emotion that you can create. It's 3 times stronger than your happiness system. But fear is your friend. It's not your enemy. But once you have learned in society it is your enemy, you will use it as an enemy system based upon your own personal situation. I teach people it's your best friend. If a tiger comes in, my fear system needs to know that I cannot win from a tiger of 300 kilo on muscles, and I have to make a run for it in order to survive. So it's my best friend. It helps me survive. So if I work with people, I teach them how to use their fear system in a better way. It's more an alerting system than a fear system. It alerts you for different little changes, mimic changes in the face. It responds to almost everything. It goes to the amygdala. The amygdala checks the database, what it knows from the past. It makes a connection, and then it produces hormones, and then you act. This is why feelings always up front, and your explanation system, your intelligence, 3 to 7 seconds later. That's your intelligence system. So intelligence is way slower than your subconscious system.
Yeah, these are so important aspects, I think, to understand about yourself, that you know if you're acting out of fear or if you're acting out of love. What is like the underlying emotion by the actions that you take? Is it speaking up, or is it doing something for someone or whatever? I was watching a podcast last week, and there's a lot going on right now in the world, like the different powers and Europe that has to become more independent. A lot of fear that is here in Europe concerning Russia and things like that. And someone was really speaking like war language, like we should do this and we should that and we should this, and you feel that the underlying emotion is fear. And I'm thinking like, as a leader, and if you have a platform like that and you reach so many people, it's people will not understand that you're speaking out of fear. But I felt it's so hard that I feel it doesn't feel right. And I think that what you teach and what you coach and all this kind of thing is so important for people that are in a leadership role or want to step in a leadership role too, because they are the people that are inspire other people and influence other people. So I'm curious how you look at that. Like, if you see what's happening right now, all the leaders having certain kind of positions, they use different media to share their opinions and their voices. How do you see that? And
Well, look, if you're talking about political leaders, and they are connected to the WEF, for example, World Economic Forum. They have been influenced for many years, like over the last 50 to 60 years, the WEF has influenced many political leaders in order to believe in a certain system that is apart from humanity. Now, so we can talk whatever we like with these people. They will never follow our path because they don't like humans, in fact. The eugenist. And Eugene was the father of Klaus Schwab. That was Eugene Schwab. So therefore they were called the eugenists. And he said, well, humans are a plague on this platform which we call Earth, and they should die. They should not be here. They poison the planet. They are terrible for the planet. They are, in fact, a sort of a virus. Now, Henry Kissinger, he liked that system that he was talking about. And Henry Kissinger, when he was somebody in the government, he took the son of Eugene Schwab, he took under his wings, and that is Klaus Schwab, and he was educating him that they should set up a WEF system. And he sent Klaus Schwab all over the world because of his connections that he has from a governmental point of view, in order to teach people that they should follow that eugenic, it's a weird word, but eugenic path.
Yeah.
Now, let's say 60 years later, we are in this stupid situation that we have now, that leaders believe that a war is a solution. A war is never a solution. It's a cover-up system. That's something totally different. They've made so many debts financially and problems, which we were talking earlier about, the nanoparticles that they put in the air and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They've created so many scientific terrible things, and the only way to cover that up is a war. So this is why the European leaders, if we can call them leaders anyway, the puppets, I will always say, of the globalist elite system, they will only choose for the narrative of war, because then they can cover up all their mistakes that they've made. Now, the weird thing is, no one of these political leaders, except for Orban, has gone to Russia to talk to Putin to understand what his situation actually is about. They stay away from that because then they have to take the responsibility in order to talk to the man in charge. And they will understand that Europe cannot win from Russia. Russia has developed over the last 30 years weapons that we don't even know and understand about. They have created, for example, the Hazel hypersonic rocket. That thing does 10,500 kilometers per hour. You cannot shoot it down. It has no propulsion. It works on plasma. And
is that the one that they tested? Is that the one that they tested? Yeah, one time they did that, right?
Yeah, they tested on Ukraine. And it has an impact of around 1.5 megatons of atomic weapon. They don't need atom weapons in order to, nuclear weapons in order to demolish a complete city. 6 of the rockets and half of Europe is gone. I mean, what are they talking about? They don't know what they're talking about. So it's a very interesting system that these so-called leaders are creating that narrative. If you could look at Starmer or Rutte, for example, now the general from the EU, and Lagarde from the bank, and von der Leyen. If you see what these people are talking about, is the narrative from let's create a war with Russia in order to cover up all our shit that we have created over the last year. Excuse my language, but it's actually really shit. So we as humans, as slaves, we are not important at all in that whole process.
Yeah, I'm just so curious. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just so curious, like with all the topics that we are talking about here, who are these? What is the person behind the leader, behind the decisions that they take? Like, I strongly believe by choosing the path of personal development and questioning myself a lot and like meditation, as I said, but there are other things, that this made me who I am right now. And that made me see things in the perspective who I believe that they are. And we agree, I think, already with a lot of things, but these people don't see that. They don't see that.
Well, that's an assumption. We don't know if they see it or if they follow a plan. And it's not even important if they see it or don't see it. It's not even important for us ourselves. We only have to take our own responsibility and make sure that we survive if a situation like that occurs. Now, a lot of people will not survive because they're simply blind to the situation that is happening. Now, if you look at the curve, the Bell's curve, then you understand that the innovators is only 2.5%. And the early adopters is only 3.5%. Now, that 6% together is a very small and limited number. Now, the first global group that they are influencing is the early majority. That's 34%. These three groups are never a problem for governments because they are not aggressive. They simply have money enough to move away. So they only for the Netherlands from let's say 2021, 400,000 people have gone out of the country. They live somewhere else. There's 400,000 people with a lot of money, so that's a deficit for the Dutch government. Now they're importing all these immigrants. They give money away to the immigrants. So the basic structure of the Netherlands is going down. You see in Sweden it's already happening.
Yeah.
That a lot of things, terrible things are happening there. So I think that it's a shift. If you look at the Koudenhoven-Kalergi program, the program that they like to change and to mix cultures and religions, that's a terrible system for countries. They lose their own, their own identity, and then troubles are on their way. Civil war will start. A lot of things like that will start, and are creating it in purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because war will cover up all the stuff that they've created over the last 80 years. You see what happened with Doge and now in America with Elon Musk. He has to stop now because he's losing his company Tesla because people are demolishing his cars on the street, which is a cover-up system. And now they have created a tracking system on these people who are creating it. And Musk said yesterday, he said, well, we have a view on who are the organizers of this whole stuff.
Yeah, I saw it.
And we're going to pursue them. So you see that there are many systems in place in order to make sure that the narrative will be followed by the sheeps and the people that cannot see the situation. And I mean sheeps not in a negative way or in a disrespectful way. It's just sweet people that follow rules. And they cannot see that there is a program or a system behind it in order to make sure that you will not see the bigger picture and that you simply follow the rules, because that's also a human aspect. We don't like to take responsibility because we don't like the consequences. Because then we have to take responsibility for the consequences. Now, well, that's a difficult thing for many people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I'm actually wondering, so you say, okay, we can just not avoid certain things. We cannot control most of the things we cannot control, basically. The only thing we can control is actually prepare ourselves and look for different options for yourself.
Yeah.
If certain things happen. On the other hand,
but also let me interrupt you. Also, how you emotionally will react to the situations. People are used to putting the fault of the situation, of their own feeling, to an external factor. You cannot change the external factors. That's something that you have to understand. But you can control how you deal with that particular situation or the external factors in general. Once you understand that, you have more control of your own body. Perfection does not exist. Sorry, but it's very interesting to understand how to control your emotional feelings. Take responsibility. And you see many things, you see with many people that once they see a problem, they walk away from the problem. So the problem evolves. Once you see a problem and you take the problem on board instantly, you are already solving the problem while you were looking at the problem.
Yeah.
And then it's not even a problem anymore. It's just a circumstance or a situation that happened. You don't even see it anymore as a problem because you don't have that negative mindset.
Yeah,
Now, once you do
exactly.
that from a positive mindset, you will see that, especially with entrepreneurs, we are the solvers of problems every day. We have hundreds of problems to solve as an entrepreneur. Now, if you don't see them as problems because your mindset is right, you see them just as happenings or circumstances, and it's a starting point to create a different route. It
Yeah,
could even be a positive situation by starting with
true.
a problem in order
Certainly.
to understand that you have to think about and from your creative brain to another direction.
Yeah, can be some
So it's
certain
not a
guidance. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, it could be a guidance, but then based upon a force that has been put you into that particular situation. And if that didn't happen, you would never choose that path. This is how people have become very wealthy because they
Mm-hmm.
have been confronted to problems that they were
Mm-hmm.
never faced before. And now
Mm.
suddenly, creatively, they have within a day or 2 weeks, they have to come up with a solution, and suddenly they have the how we say that in English, they have eureka, we have found a solution forever, something like that.
Yeah,
That
something like
kind of
that. Yeah.
feeling. Yeah,
Hallelujah.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Do you believe that the universe has like a path laid out for us and that
No.
we no?
No, no, I cannot deal with that because then, if I look at it very simply, people say the universe or they have different names for it. Then I always say, well, okay, who is controlling that administrative system? Karma, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we have 8 billion people on this planet. Which party system or AI is controlling if you are doing the things right or doing the things wrong? For example, if we look at the history, some people murdered so many people. Genghis Khan, for example, was the biggest serial killer in the whole planet. He killed around 45 to 50 million people.
Mm.
His karma was not really working for him in a negative way because he went an old man. He has infected 900,000 people in Western Europe that has still his DNA in the system. So we're all ascendants from
Mm-hmm.
Genghis Khan. So karma, to me, it doesn't work because
Mm.
there has to be an administrative system in order to understand how you will create karma in a positive or negative way for somebody else that has been doing something wrong or something right.
Yeah.
So the universe to me is not a system. I believe that the universe is energy, and I believe
Yeah.
that we are energetic people. And if you look
Mm-hmm.
at quantum physics, well, yeah, particles and certain things are very interesting to still search for, but it's still a theory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can think about it. So you're in Belgium and I'm in the Netherlands, and I call you and you say, well, I was just thinking about you. We cannot explain that. So
Mm-hmm.
then we are going back to the acceptance system and say, well, I just accept that things like that happen sometimes. I don't have to explain it. I just have to accept it. That's it. Why
Yeah.
should I make it more difficult for myself? I will never find the answer. I don't know what I don't know, so it's not important.
True. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
way easier to do it in a simpler way for the human brain in order to focus on what you can create for yourself, where you have control of, and everything you don't have control of, don't put the energy in it. It's waste of time, and your brain goes. It has a difficult situation with time. It's priority. In Dutch, we
Yeah.
say time and prioriteit. So priority and time are
Priority. Yeah.
exactly the same words.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
Yeah. Yeah.
priority is a more advanced type of time. Now your brain will work with the priority once it understands that priority and relevance are coming together in order to make the best version of yourself, or the best version of the situation that you are in.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting point of view. And I teach my people always to come from that point of view. That's something that you can control. You can control your inner situation, not the external situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's very easy to put things into the external, like the
Exactly.
universe is gonna figure it out for me, and I have to follow the universe. Well, I bring everything back to nature and more specifically to my own nature. I think
Mm-hmm.
the lesson or the guidance that we all need in our life is the guidance of ourself. Like what is right for me and what is not right for me. How do I feel about that? And we haven't really specifically talked about it, but I think gut feeling is also something that is interesting to dive into, to learn follow your gut feeling, your instincts, and many people just don't. They are not able to do that. And also, for most part of my life, I was not able to follow my gut instinct. But I think that is just what is showing you and what is guiding you in your life, where you have to be, basically.
The problem is that if you are looking at gut feeling or instincts, we say that doesn't exist. We say everything is a brain function. Now,
But that's
coming
like
from
the
that,
second. They call it the second brain sometimes.
yeah, but that's in fact you only have one brain, so you don't have a second brain. So let's say coming from that point of view, if you ask somebody to choose for themselves, then actually you're asking them to be aware of the biological system that they have and who they are from the DNA system, 50-50 from the parents. Now, the problem is that we don't learn who we are. So how can you choose for yourself if you don't know who you are? That's the interesting question, because you in the whole time period, let's say from birth to your, what did you say, 47, from 0 to 47, you have followed the narrative of society, because that is another educator that has been confronting you with all kinds of systems. You have started to believe that you are that person. If I do round the table sessions here and have 12 people around the table, I tell them, okay, well, let's introduce each other to each other for, let's say, 15 seconds and tell everybody who you are. Nobody tells who they are. They tell what they do, which is something totally different. Well, I'm
True.
Patrick. I've been married with June for 15 years. I have 2 children. I'm director of this and this company. I said, well, that wasn't my question. I was asking, who are you?
Yeah.
Tell the other people who you are. They look at you with, like, they see water burning. They don't know.
No.
So asking people to choose for themselves is a very difficult subject for the brain if it doesn't know who it is. Now, I
True.
always place the brain outside the person. I say, well, it's not your fault. Don't be defensive about it. Your brain is a very difficult organ. It's the only organ that has given itself a name. Your brain has called itself the brain. Now look at pranks. If people jump out of a carton box and somebody is shocked about that, what happens? They always fall on their back. Why?
Yeah.
The head instantly makes a move backwards. Your feet still do one step up front because the brain has not said to the legs, okay, stop now because there is a danger. And so people fall on their back because they're out of balance. Now, out of balance, not only physically but also mentally, is exactly the same thing. If you're out of balance, you cannot find yourself. If you cannot find yourself, you cannot choose for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the whole big problem in this society. Just what I do is people help to create their own individual, unique personality. So I bring them back to the essence of their own personality.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So, what is for you your mission? What is your bigger mission with everything that you do?
Yeah, I think I've had the question many times. So my bigger mission is I become 67, so I've been walking around for a long time, and so I'm going to the end of my life. My bigger mission is that the vision that I have, the books that I've written just 3 new books, which I'm going to produce this year as well. It's about education, children. It's about love relations between men and women because they don't understand each other either. And I have one book where I talk to my AI. I've developed an artificial intelligence version of myself called DigiEd. So it's my digital version of Eddie. And I have a conversation with him for a complete day. I've been talking to my AI for a whole day. I've recorded it and then I've asked him to make a book out of it. And so I've made a book out of it. So my mission is to share as many people with the knowledge or the vision. Maybe it's not even knowledge, but it's just a hypothesis. It's a vision that I have about being honest and open and transparent. That's basic one. And out of that, everything that you say after that is just a view. It's not a fact. Too many people think that their view is a fact, and they're going to find substantial information in order to support their so-called fact,
Exactly.
which creates a lot of trouble. I wanted to say shit, but a lot of trouble in this society in order to see that people are fighting about the so-called facts, which are not even facts. It's just a vision.
No,
So
yeah,
I'm not on
exactly.
that subject. I'm just on the fact that my basic rule is you never know what you don't know. And it's just a small sentence, but it's so an important thing, because if you don't know what you don't know, or you never know what you don't know, then
Mm,
you always have limited information. Always. And if you always have limited information, even if you think that you have all the information, it's still the
mm.
information up to that point. You don't know what the information is the next day.
No,
So
exactly.
maybe you even have to adapt that information, let's say on Tuesday. So this
Yeah.
is Thursday today. If we would believe in perfection, then we say, okay, today everything is perfect. Now, if you have to adapt that the next day on Friday, then on Thursday it wasn't perfect, because otherwise we would not be able to adapt it or to
Mm,
change it. So I don't believe in that system. So my system is sharing information, sharing knowledge, having open discussions about it, teaching as many people as I can through books and through my AI and my websites and everything, and the readings that I do, to help people to have a different point of view based upon my vision as an opposite for their vision that they have from the narrative that they have been brought up with from
mm.
childhood.
Okay.
So that's my dream. And once I die, I hope that that will evolve as an oil stain, and it will continue to grow. And that's the
For
beauty with
sure.
books. I mean, a book could be in place for like 100 years or more,
True.
and it could help people, to have a different view and to take their own responsibility. And based on your own responsibility, you accept the consequences as well.
Yeah, totally true. I think it's a good advice also for listeners. Like if you have, so many knowledge and expertise in a certain kind of topic, write a book. It's so powerful. And also, I think it's the individual process of writing a book. I think it's also powerful for yourself to be able to process, reflect, do research, all these kind of things.
I tell you, it's terrible.
Yeah,
I've read my
probably.
book. I think I've read my book like 1,000 times, and I was never satisfied.
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
an editor on it, to a woman, especially a woman, because they're more on details, to make sure that there are no mistakes in the book anymore. Every day still we find mistakes in the book.
yeah.
It's not possible to do it without AI can do that, but a human is too limited on that particular part.
Yeah, but perfection doesn't exist, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, amazing. Is there something, so maybe a last word or maybe a topic that we haven't tapped on during this conversation that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think that the technology is growing so quickly right now that people are afraid of, for example, AI. Look, AI is a tool, is an interesting thing. So I combine artificial intelligence as a research program because it speaks like 50 languages. So if I like to ask him, find some information that I don't know in countries like Greece or Spain or Japan, it reads Japanese or Chinese or whatever language. Then I get more information. With that more information system, so the data generation, I take it to my team with biological intelligence, humans, and then
Hmm.
we're going to discuss what can we do with this particular information, and that creates a new CI, which is communication intelligence. And this is something that I do with companies. So I help teams and directors and CEOs of companies in order to understand that they should use AI different than only a text writer. It's
Hmm.
way smarter than that. You use it in a totally different way. Once you do that, you get you are going to be ahead of the competition because you have more knowledge. With more knowledge, you have more information in order to use that. And if you use that, you have an advantage commercially. So that's something that I do on that part. But I also do that the same system AI BI plus is CI. I also do that with private people as well.
Mm. Amazing.
As you ask me, for example, well, you didn't provide the bio. Well, I'm going to find now with AI what the bio is.
Yeah,
Well, then the bio will produce something that he thinks I am. Now
yeah.
you produce that to me, and I can say, okay, yeah, that's okay.
It's pretty
I
accurate.
agree with it. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. He knows that already. It's out there somewhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, I
So
totally agree. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and the basic rule that I have is take your own responsibility. Don't ask for sources find the source yourself. If you read something, don't ask me, what is your source? No, that is exactly what the narrative wants. Read the information, go do your own research, because people are lazy, especially the brain is lazy. Do your own research. Convince yourself that that is enough information for you to hook on and go to the next step. Stop asking
Yeah.
for sources. It's annoying. You know, it shows you that you are a slave of the system instantly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I would everyone recommend to read your book. I think they can. There's a special website of your book I've seen, so we will share that.
Whyeverything.com. Yeah.
Yeah, whyeverything.com exactly. Spark Academy, I think as well. There is Sparkwise. Sorry, Sparkwise Academy. So I will share we will share all the links in the description here of this episode, so that people can find it and check it out.
Nice, thanks.
And thank you for this amazing conversation. Thank you for your time. I think you do really wonderful work. You have done, I already saw a lot of things in your life. And again, it confirms that this is the way we have to go, and all that information that is available. I wish that everybody just takes a little bit of time to take a look at it, to consume it, to be critical, to ask questions. It would make things so much better and easier, I would say.
I agree with that. Yeah. Thank you for asking. I really liked our conversation. We don't know each other, but it was a very nice conversation, very spontaneous.
Yeah, true.
Not scripted, you know. This is what I like. This is who I am. I want there are mistakes in it. Show the mistakes, you know. It doesn't matter.
No,
Everything
exactly.
is changeable, you know. Everything is dynamic, and the dynamic system in the human brain is basically what it is. It's not static. It's always dynamic.
Yeah, we're human. We make mistakes.
We're human. I have clients that say, well, I'm 50 years old. All the stupid things that I did in the past. I say, no. The stupid things that you call now stupid are based upon your version today, knowing with the knowledge of today that the things 5 years earlier were stupid. But you didn't know that then. But it has produced you in the way that you are today right now.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, fully agree.
So, All right, Henk.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
See you.
See you around, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.